Hello and welcome to the next episode in this series of videos on the proposal assignment in research methods. And today we will be looking at hypotheses. Now, these assignments have been building on one another, and this is no exception. The assignment before this one was defining variables, and then this assignment is defining your hypotheses. So let's go back to make sure we understand the relationship between defining our variables and defining our hypotheses. So here we have the previous assignment, defining variables. You've seen this one already. And you go down. So here's the research question. What is the impact of visual scene characteristics on perceptions of time? And then I go through to define what this article did in terms of operationally defining these things. And in the end, the operational definition for the independent variable of visual scene is defined as a sequence of 36 images that have been pre-rated by space and clutter. The operational definition for the dependent variable of perception of time will be the subject's choice of either long or short for each image. The point I want to make is that in these sentences, I've combined the language that's in the research question and the language that's in the operational definitions. We can sometimes be tempted when we're about to write our hypotheses to use the language from the research question, which is to say that I would predict that there's some relationship between visual scene and perception of time. That is not how we write hypotheses. The hypotheses specifically relate to the definitions, the measures at which we are going to be doing this study. So we switch now to the hypothesis assignment. It's all cut and paste here. And we have here that I have repeated under this section, the exact wording. The operational definition for the independent variable of visual scene is defined as a sequence of 36 images, pre-rated by space and clutter. The operational definition for the dependent variable of perception of time would be the subject's choice of either long or short for each image. There are, in fact, two independent variables. And that is the characteristic of the pic. This is specific to my study. We're looking at two characteristics, space and clutter. So because of that, I have to have two separate hypotheses. Now, hypotheses are generally represented by what we already know about the relationship between these two variables, or what we can best predict from the preponderance of the evidence of the research that we've done. So often, particularly in a replication study like this, we're going to go with whatever the researchers thought, whatever they found out. We would predict that our results would be the same. So I have two hypotheses, and they are based on the results. The direction of my predictions are based on the evidence that's presented in my source article. So let's take a look at how I phrased these. So here for my first operational definition here, the H1, which is the first set of hypotheses, H1-1, subjects will perceive high space images as being longer in duration. And then the null hypothesis for that one is there will be no effect of space on perceived duration. The next hypothesis, specifically to clutter, subjects will perceive high clutter images as being shorter in duration. And the null hypothesis, there will be no effect of clutter on perceived duration. I'm going to share with you that it took me a while. I did a couple drafts trying to figure out how to best write this so that it's simple and clear. I think I was successful in that. Don't make these complicated. Don't make any of this assignment complicated. I'm seeing way more complexity in many of these assignments than actually needs to be there. You're simply looking at independent and dependent variables here. You're taking a piece of a study and replicating it. In your hypotheses, be ultra clear in your phrasing of this, because you have to be ultra clear as to your decision making when you examine your data. At the other end of this study, when you have data, you're going to look at that data, and I should see, okay, if my hypothesis, my alternate hypothesis, my alternative hypothesis is correct, I should see more people have selected long when they showed space, high space images, and I should see less, more people select short when they see cluttered images. Now, my data is actually going to be looking at various gradations of this 36 total images. Of each picture has a degree of space, and each picture has a degree of clutter. And so I'm going to be looking at each one of those variables independently, and then I'm going to be looking at to see if there's an interaction between them. That will be for the data analysis part. That will be in the next semester. So notice how short and sweet this is. The section starts off, hypothesis. I phrase again, word for word. I say the operational definitions that were right in the last part of the previous assignment. And then I say there are two sets of hypotheses for this study, colon, I did H1 HO null, H2 H2 null. And I'm going to share with you as well. I had to look that up. How do you actually write out when you have more than one hypothesis? Usually just it's H1, H0. That's it. That's how I would do that. And I was wondering, well, what if you have more than one hypothesis? So I looked it up, and look what I found. You have the H1 now, which refers to the first set of hypothesis, colon, and then 1. And then H1 colon 0. You see how that flows, and you can have as many hypotheses. So I found that was a neat way to do that. So if you have multiple hypotheses, do this. It's just this big. It's just a little section. That's it. That's all I'm asking for. If you scroll down on that page, what you're going to see is just a copy of the references that have been in each one of my papers right up until now. So that is the hypothesis assignment. Please take the time to think through how you phrase these so that everybody understands exactly what you are going to be doing when you make your decision. That's an incredibly important part of how you write out hypotheses. Is just about anybody can look at your data and make that decision. There's no mystery in those hypotheses. They're as clear as day. So enjoy getting into that assignment when you get around to it, and I will see you next time.